it's Jen, and I'm here today to share with you a layout that I am creating as a guest designer for Altenew. I'm so excited. They asked me to be a guest designer because I love their products. They're beautiful. They have the most gorgeous florals. And I've had a lot of Altenew products in my stash that I've only used once or twice, or I haven't gotten a chance to use yet, so I'm excited to use this as an opportunity to pull them out and intentionally use them. But they did send me 3 things that I wanted to work with, and one of them is this stamp set, and it is called Block Alpha, and it's really cool. It's a large stamp set, 6x8, and it has the alphabet, which you can use on its own, but then there's also a shadow, and I think you could use either one on their own, so I'm excited to play with that for some titles or even subtitles. And then I've got the new watercolor brush markers, and this is the Spring Garden set, and these are just gorgeous. I don't really know much about these, and so I'm excited to play with them a little bit and see what I can create using them. And then I also got, let me show you, I also got this amazing washi tape roll. It is 6 inches. It is 6.5 inches tall. And there is a ton on there. I kind of want to wallpaper my craft room with this because, or at least one wall, like I'm tempted to try it because it is just so beautiful. But anyway, I plan to use it on a scrapbook layout. So I'm going to create 2 layouts and 1 card. There will be a process video for each. So this is going to be the first layout. So be sure to check out the other videos for the other layouts. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So for this first layout, I'm going to use these 2 photos of myself that my friend took. I'm going to do a little confidence kind of page, and I really wanted to use these embroidered blooms by Altenew. I have the stamp set and the coordinating dies, and so I'm gonna use this stamp set for this layout, and then also want to try out the alphabets and the brush markers, the watercolor brush markers. So I'm going to play around with those, but that's kind of where I'm going to start here. I have a few papers selected that I might use as a background, but I'm not exactly sure yet. I like them all, and so after I get my flower stamped, then I'll kind of decide which way that I want to go. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the stamps this time so that I can coordinate them to kind of the colors of what I was wearing. And so let's go ahead and get playing. If you forget how things go together, you can go to altenew.com and just check it out. So that's what I'm doing here because I couldn't recall the way these went together since I threw away my packaging, and so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And also this one down at the bottom, you can use it as flowers or leaves, I feel like. So anyway. Alright, so I'm starting by arranging some of my stamps onto my stamp platform here, and I'm going to try to stamp multiple at a time, and I am using a bunch of inks that I've just matched to my outfit, and I'm trying to stamp a couple of flower centers and then turn the paper and stamp a couple more so that I can do a bunch and then just turn the paper and then stamp them again. But I didn't check my alignment. I didn't push it back into the corner when I stamped it the second time, and so it doesn't line up. And so yeah, that was a little error on my part, but I am going to basically do this process throughout, and I'm just going to ignore that one that I messed up and just keep working on those 2 that worked out just fine. And I'm basically using an assortment of blues, so I use a darker blue and then a lighter blue, and then I'm going to use like a light minty blue for the top layer. And I like the way that turns out, so I saved you from watching me stamp all of those because I stamped a ton of them. I want to create kind of a bed of flowers for my photo to sit on, and so I stamped the leaves, the kind of like little flowery bits that are taller, the small flowers, the large flowers. Now, here's something to keep in mind. There are 2 kinds of leaves on the stamp set, but there's only one, like of the smallest leaf, but there's only 1 small leaf die. The second stamp is mirrored, so I would suggest actually die cutting the leaf shape first and then stamping on it if you're using the mirror image, because I
they didn't line up on some of the ones that I had because I had the mirror image, but I flipped the die and used it anyway, so they're not perfect, and I'm okay with that. But if you want it to be perfect, then just stamp or cut the die cut out first and then stamp it. I hope that makes sense. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange my photos so they're kind of overlapping each other, and then I'm just going to build up flowers around my photos, so all around the sides and the bottom, and I'm just kind of spreading out colors, and I'm wanting to get a good variety. I really love the way these turned out. They're super cute. They're simple to stamp. They're not some of the rose images and stuff like that from Altenew look very realistic. These are more of an embroidered type look, and they don't have to line up quite as well as others, I feel like anyway. And I think they just turned out really, really cute. So I'm just kind of playing around trying to figure out what I'm going to use, what I'm not going to use. I know I punched out more than I need, so I'll probably just save those for another project. But I didn't want to be short, and I did actually use most of what I die cut out. So that's probably what took the longest for this page, was stamping and die cutting, but it was a fun process for me. So I'm going to pop up the second photo on some foam tape and just overlap it with the first one. I did put a white border on each of them. And now I'm kind of tucking and arranging the flowers. I sped this up a little bit more because it's a lot of me just kind of fiddling around with the placement until I get it quite right. And I'm just trying to make sure there's an even distribution of color and the different types of flowers and the different types of leaves and the different colors of leaves. So basically I'm just kind of manipulating them and playing with them until I get a balance struck that I am happy with. And I'm also trying to make sure that I don't get the same type of flower too close next to each other, or those leaves that are a little bit longer, that I did some of them as flowers and some of them as leaves. I like the way they stick out and make the floral arrangement a little bit more loose rather than quite so structured, just because they stick kind of out of the boundaries of the lines that the wreath is, or not the wreath, but the flowers are in, and so they kind of break it up a little bit, and I really like that. So I'm trying to distribute those pretty evenly as well, so that I can get a little bit of break in that line of embellishment. And so I am popping some parts of the embellishment or of the flowers up, and some whole flowers I'm popping up just on some thin foam. I don't want it to be two dimensional, but I want it to add something. So I'm playing around with the right hand side. Want to make sure that I have the colors I need and that I can get an assortment of large flowers and small flowers. And this is a fun part of the process for me, is just kind of playing around and putting this together like a puzzle almost, trying to figure out where things go and how it's going to look best. And so just kind of playing around with until I get that right. And like I mentioned, I sped this up a little bit faster because I didn't want you to have to painstakingly watch me put every single flower on, but I did want to keep it in because this is part of the process, and this is playing around with the arrangement is something that, you know, it's a big part of what the layout entailed. So I don't mind if I'm overlapping certain things. It's okay if some of the leaves overlap the flowers and vice versa. I am at this point kind of thinking that it looks like a U shape, and I'm not super thrilled about that. And so I will take some of the flowers down from the left-hand side, and I'm going to just move them so that they're poking out a little bit more to the left and not quite as curved up around the photo. And you'll see that here in just a minute. It does take me a little bit to realize like kind of what I wanted, and looking at it now, I actually kind of like it the way it is. But, you know, sometimes when you're in the thick of creating, you don't see what you see later. And I like the way it ended up, so I'm okay with what I did. So here's where I'm kind of moving those things around so that they're not quite going up the side of the photo. And then I remembered I had this Altenew, I think it's called Family Time, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but a set of stickers, and there was a little frame in there that was that bright green color, and it matched the leaves and the flowers that I had stamped earlier. And so I'm going to put it around my photo, and I'm just putting a little foam adhesive underneath it so that it matches the height of my photo, so that the edges of the sticker don't get stuck down to the page and make that frame look really weird. I'm just making sure it's popped up the same height as the photo. And I'm happy with the way that looks. And now I'm going to try my title. So I wasn't sure that I wanted to do the large word of my title with the stamps. I thought maybe that I needed smaller words with the stamps and then a large word with some stickers. And so I'm trying some Jelly Bean Soup letter stickers there for the word confidence. And I like the blue of them, but they're just not quite what I'm wanting. So I'm taking some of the scraps of the papers that I punched all of the shapes out of, and that's where I am going to stamp my title. I'm going to fussy cut these out, and it doesn't take very long. The letters are pretty simple, and when you add this shadow, it makes it even more of a simple shape. And so I really like the way that looks. So I did a light blue with a dark blue around it, and I think it looks very nice. So that's what I'm going to do for all of the letters in the title. It's not really hard to line those letters up, so I didn't feel like I needed a stamp press for this, but you could if you wanted to. And the letters look great on their own as well, just to make mention of that, and I will use them on their own on another layout, so you can watch for that. So I've got my title stamped out, the word confidence, and I'm putting a little subtitle with some tiny little alphabet stickers here that says try a little. So try a little confidence. This is kind of like a little message to myself. I sometimes struggle with self-confidence, and I just need to keep telling myself that I can do it, and that I'm not, there's no reason for me not to be confident. So just kind of a little affirmation there. And I think it's great to do layouts about that for yourself, just as little reminders. I'm using my T-square ruler to make sure I get the title lined up straight. Sorry for my head appearance multiple times. I wanted to lean over this layout to just make sure I had everything aligned properly, and so that's the reason why you keep seeing my head poke in and out. But yeah, just lining that up, and basically I lined it up with the top of that smaller photo, and I'm overlapping it slightly onto the larger photo. So that kind of draws your eye in to both of the photos, reading the word. And then it goes straight to my face. So, all right, then the subtitle, or the other part of the title, is going on top of it. Try a little confidence. And I'm happy with the way that looks. It's just a fun little way to do a title. I love mixing fonts and different mediums for the title. So I thought about doing a little floral cluster next to the title, but then I felt like it just was out of place. It felt like it was supposed to go with the other stuff, and then it didn't. So I decided against it. And then I'm using some small little word stickers. They're from the Ali Edwards Tough Story Kit, and I thought there were lots of kind of encouraging phrases on here, so I thought these would work. They are in navy, which matches my shirt, but I end up taking them off. I just don't feel like, I feel like they're a little heavy for this layout. And so what I'm going to do now is put some white paint in the spot underneath my title so I can do my journaling directly on the background. I just wanted to make it a little bit of a softer, the pattern isn't dark or anything, but I just wanted to make it even more white so that it was easy to write on top of. And then I'm also taking that same bottle that's full of white paint, and I'm just kind of doodling some little leaf borders, or not borders, but some little leaves and some dots around my flowers. And this is something I've done before that I think is just kind of a really fun and different look. That fine line bottle, I usually have adhesive in it, but I also have one full of white paint, and it's great for little detail work like this. I will use this in another project for my guest design month on Altenew as well, for a different kind of technique, and I hope that you'll watch for that. But basically I'm just drawing some little leaf sprigs and some little polka dots with this paint in the fine line bottle, and I think it turns out pretty cute. It's kind of very subtle, but when you look at it in real life, the paint has a little bit of texture to it when it dries, and it's just a kind of a fun and a nice little detail to add to it. So I'm also putting a little bit more of just the white paint above my photo, because I didn't want next to my photo to be the only place where it was kind of whited out like that. So I'm just using it as kind of a like a design element as well, just so that I have multiple areas on the layout where it's just kind of white paint. And so I'm going to let this dry so I can write on top of it, and I'm a little bit impatient, so I'm using my heat tool to try to help that along. It doesn't take very long for acrylic paint to dry, so it's not really a big deal. It just takes a few minutes. And then at this point I'm thinking there's a lot of room there at the top, so I wanted to put something on the top to kind of bring your eye down. And so I'm looking for some border strips that I could use for a layer on the top. And I went into my stash and I found this kind of this sunray border, and it's not quite long enough to go across the entire top part of the layout, but I'm going to find something else to stick there. So I thought about the wood grain, and I kind of liked it. I tried a couple different wood grains, and I'm just kind of struggling a little bit to figure out exactly what I want. I loved when I folded down a little bit of the top piece of that paper. It was blue and green, and it matched the layout perfectly, so I was happy with that. What I ended up with was a little scrap of sassafras paper, which is an older paper company that's not around anymore, and I put that at the top. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. It's kind of got some yellow and some white stitching on a distressed background, and I felt like it matched it pretty well. It went with the whole embroidered feel of the flowers too. So I'm using my tiny attacher to just staple some of those parts down that I rolled down from where I tore it. I really like that look of the tearing and rolling it down. And so I'm happy with the way that turned out, definitely. So here you can see my journaling is on. I just drew some lines with a black pen, and now I am stamping my date at the top to mimic that black. And I wanted a little bit more texture in here, and so I'm going to add some enamel dots in the various shades of colors that I've got going on in those flowers. So I've got some navy, some aqua, I'll add some yellow, and then I'll add like that periwinkle blue. And I'm just kind of scattering them around, just filling in a couple of the little spaces that are there and adding in some texture. I really like that look, and wherever I can, I try to add in large enamel dots because they're the hardest ones for me to use, and so I do tuck a few larger enamel dots on here as well, just to get those used up, and they also matched, so win-win, right? So after I am done with that, that is going to finish off this layout. I hope that you have enjoyed, and I hope that you'll stick around for the month and check out my other projects for this guest design spot. I'm so grateful to have done it, and very, very fun to be able to play with all of my Altenew products. Here are some close-up photos, and I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again very soon. We'll see you later. Bye.